Hello, everyone. Today, I'd like to make a video for parents, specifically on the topic of learning a language as a child. So if you're a parent, you want your child to learn another language, this video is for you. If you are new to my work, hello, my name is Azren. I'm very passionate about learning languages. I speak English, French, Spanish, Mandarin, Gujarati. I'm learning Ukrainian right now, and I've dabbled in many other languages. I run and I founded a business called the Calgary Language Nerds. I founded it in 2016. My tutors teach one on one lessons that lead to fluency, typically within 1 year. I love my job. It brings me a tremendous amount of joy to help people reach fluency and provide tutors with meaningful employment. And reaching fluency is the core focus of my business because, in my experience, most people don't ever reach fluency, which frustrates me, frankly. And the primary reason that I think people don't reach fluency is that there aren't any comprehensive solutions on the market. Most of the fluency solutions on the market, apps, books, podcasts, YouTube videos, traditional lessons, they're definitely very helpful, but they're only partial solutions. They move you forward a little bit, but they don't take you all the way to fluency. And this is especially the case for any courses or resources for children. That's especially the case for kids. And that's why I created my program, which is called Guaranteed Fluency. I wanted to create a program that was a complete and structured pathway all the way to fluency. And I will tell you more about it later in this video. A disclaimer before we begin, we're going to talk about the pathway to fluency for children, what that would look like. But before we begin, a little disclaimer. I do have a deep level of expertise when it comes to foreign language acquisition because I've literally taught thousands of people, and language learning has been the central pillar of my life for 17 years. That's how long, more than 17 years. That's how long I've I've had language learning as the number one hobby of my life, number one focus of my life, even. But of the thousands of people that I've taught, most of them were adults. I probably taught hundreds of children, but thousands of adults. And for the past few years, I've been focused entirely on helping adults to reach fluency. So while I do have quite a bit of experience with children, I have far more experience with adults. However, I do still believe that everything I share in this video will be informative and helpful to parents who are watching. Otherwise, I obviously wouldn't be making it. Furthermore, considering the fact that I do get regular lesson inquiries from parents who want lessons for their kids, I do believe it is wise to still make this video. It'll answer a lot of questions that I'm often asked. So, the pathway to fluency for children. Unlike adults, it seems to me that immersion is the only pathway forward for fluency for kids. Adults don't have to learn through immersion. But from what I can tell, I think children do need an immersive environment if you are going to have them really become fluent in another language. I struggle to think of any children that I've ever encountered who succeeded in becoming fluent without having an immersive environment. Now, there are three ideal immersive environments, and I'll walk you through what they are. There's a fourth one too, but there's three that are like ideal, and that's what we have up here. Moving abroad is ideal. That's probably the best, but it's the least practical. So if you move to Mexico, your 6-year-old goes to school, they're going to learn, they're almost certainly going to learn, they're going to learn Spanish. Another option would be a local immersion school. So I attended French immersion schools myself from kindergarten to grade 12. And so most of my classes were taught in French for as long as I can remember, from the age of 5. And for the most part, when children complete an immersion program, they will usually reach at least an intermediate level of fluency. The other perk of a local immersion school is that often they'll have study abroad opportunities. So I had the chance twice, actually maybe even 3 times, to go and study abroad. There's a trip to Quebec, which was a shorter term trip, and then twice I had the chance to do a longer term trip to France, and I took that opportunity once. And so I studied when I was in high school. I studied for 3 months and did a 3-month exchange trip to France, which helped tremendously in my French level and was also an unforgettable experience, of course. Now, the third option would be an immersive home environment. So I once attended a language learning conference in Montreal, and the keynote speaker for that year was a mother who created an immersive learning environment at home. And so her daughter was actually fully fluent in 8 different languages. At the time, I think the daughter was about 5 years old. Another example of this, of an immersive home environment, would be the host of the conference that I attended. His kids, who I've met, they each speak 5 languages. They speak English, French, Spanish, Mandarin, and Japanese. So 5 different languages. So this is something that is definitely possible as well. I'm going to put a link to the talk that I listened to in the description box of this YouTube video. So that'll be one starting point for you in case you want to consider having an immersive home environment. I can provide a little bit of advice for this as well, just one-on-one. You're welcome to email me. There's a link to my website in the description box too, and I can try and provide any advice I have on this particular topic. Now, what about weekly tutoring? Does that work? So most of the people who reach out to me, they're usually looking for some kind of a weekly tutoring option, one-on-one classes or group class or 2 times a week class, like something like that. So for adults, it can work remarkably well because they've already developed a number of study skills. So the adults can be relied upon to attend weekly classes and then follow a structured self-study routine that has them studying 4+ hours a week. So for me, if someone wants to really reach fluency as an adult, usually I'll default into recommending that they do 4 hours of study per week. It's basically like 30 minutes-ish, maybe 30 to 45 minutes of study per day. Now, the problem with children, well, not the problem, but children, they haven't learned study skills yet. So they don't even know how to remember to do their homework. They might not even want to do homework because it's homework. They're going to want to play, understandably, of course, understandably. Children also will struggle with some of the homework because maybe they lack certain life skills they haven't learned yet. As an example, an adult, I can tell an adult to read, watch a video, turn the subtitles on, and I can tell the adult to type words into Google Translate that they don't understand. So if you watch a video you don't understand, I can tell you as an adult to take a word, throw it into Google Translate. While a 7-year-old is still learning to read in English. So for them to go and take a word from the video, put into Google Translate, I mean, that's just not going to happen. So there's certain skills like that that also hold children back from being able to follow a structured self-study routine. It's quite difficult for them. And so at a minimum, what I can say is, at a bare minimum, I can say that I haven't found a way to adapt my typical approach to guaranteeing fluency to work well for kids. I'm sure there's a way to do it. I haven't found a way to do it. And frankly, in my experience, I'm not sure if there are any companies out there who have really figured it out. Because with kids, as I mentioned up here, like most people never reach fluency when they're doing it through part-time lessons, let's say. Most people usually don't. And that's especially the case for kids. It's especially the case. So I don't know if anyone really has figured it out really for kids. Maybe there is someone, but I haven't, and I haven't met anyone who has. Now, what I do believe would work for children. I already listed 3 options above. So moving abroad, local immersion schools, and creating an immersive home environment. These are probably your 3 ideal options, to be frank with you. But if none of those interest you, or you really were thinking about lessons, which is entirely possible, the next option I see that would work for children would be to take lessons with a tutor for 1 to 2 hours every day of the week. So basically having a daily lesson schedule. That way they can still use the language every single day and not be relied upon, not have to force them, quote unquote, to go and do like a structured self-study routine and go do a lot of homework. They can still get that daily interaction and get somewhat of an immersive environment by just using the language every single day, right? So that's the pathway forward that I see for kids. Daily lessons. And they can, of course, be fun lessons and they can have games and all of that. Absolutely. But I think every single day of the week, probably 1 to 2 hours. It depends on the age of the child, obviously. They're a bit younger, then maybe shorter, a bit older, maybe a bit longer. But the point is daily lessons. Now, when will my child reach fluency? So I'll kind of walk you through this table here and I'll explain how long it'll take by my best estimation. So what you're seeing here is is a rubric for different fluency levels. Now, this is something I've created because to my knowledge, no one that I've seen in over 17 years, I've not seen anyone that has created objective, measurable definitions of fluency. Usually people use words to describe fluency. They'll say, oh, it means you can have basic conversation, but they don't use objective, measurable terms. So I have done that. And I think that's actually necessary. If you want to guarantee quote unquote fluency, which is that's kind of my goal with students, is to get as close as possible to guaranteeing a result. I think the objective metrics are necessary. So I'll walk you through what these are. Pronunciation refers to how well you pronounce the language, and there's percentage scores. Speech rate is how many words per minute you speak at. So how fast do you talk, measured with words per minute. Vocabulary size is how many word families you know. So 500 word families, 1,000, 2,000. Careful that this is word families. It's not individual words. So I'll type a word on the screen. If we take the English word walk and the English word walks, these are two separate words. Walk, walks, two words. However, both words are just in one language family. So we're looking at language families when we count vocabulary size, not individual words. Grammatical accuracy refers to how correct your speech is. Grammatical cases, they don't exist in every language, but it's one aspect of grammar. Tenses also don't exist in every language, but if it does exist in your language, it's an aspect of grammar. It's one aspect of it. Translation reliance is how often someone needs to use Google Translate to communicate. For example, if you speak zero French and you try and talk to me in French right now, your translation reliance would be 100% because you would need to rely on your phone 100% of the time. And lastly, comprehension rate. This looks at how fast can someone talk to you and you understand them. That's what that means. So the very first thing that's worth mentioning is that for children, the maximum score you generally would see them reach is an intermediate, possibly advanced. And the main reason for that is vocabulary. So vocabulary size, this vocabulary size here of 4,000 plus word families, roughly speaking, someone who graduates high school, so is an adult, but doesn't have a university post-secondary education, they generally know approximately 5,000 as a native speaker. They know approximately 5,000 word families. So what that means is your 10-year-old, even in their first language, technically, at least on the vocabulary front, wouldn't even score on very advanced. They wouldn't score high enough. So the maximum score, depending on the age of your child, the maximum score you're looking at is probably intermediate, maybe advanced if they're a bit older. So possibly advanced. So I would estimate for kids. I wish for adults, I have some really clear numbers. I really have got this figured out. And there's excellent estimates. For children, either I don't know the exact numbers, or they don't exist. I don't know. But anyway, based on my knowledge, a high beginner, basically every single level, low beginner, high beginner, etc., will take about, if I had to kind of estimate it, approximately 2 years or so to reach. So maybe it's like if they know nothing, you can reach like a high beginner in approximately 2 years, and then maybe an intermediate in approximately 2 years, something like that. There's a wide degree of variance there, especially based on the age of the child, especially. Someone who's 12 and someone who's 4, we have very different learning dynamics, for example. But just to give you a rough idea, a couple of years per level is like a rough-ish way to view it. Again, provided you have a daily study schedule. So to wrap this up, from what I can tell, to give a child a real shot of reaching fluency in another language, I believe the minimum requirement is to have them take daily lessons. The other options, which frankly are even more effective, really, are to move abroad, set up an immersive home environment, or enroll in a local immersion school. That's what I can tell as of right now. I definitely will update this video in the future as I continue to develop professionally. As I mentioned, in recent years, I've been mostly focused on developing exceptional curriculums solely for adult learners. So I'm sure that as I keep developing professionally, I will be able to update this video in the future. But anyway, I hope this is helpful for you. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out. As I said, my website is in the description box for this YouTube video, and you can contact me through there, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.